Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Federation of Asian Storytellers mentorship program for 2025. So this year, the topic was STEAM storytelling, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math concepts, and we've had an amazing time with our very special mentor, Barry. And it is now 4:30 in the morning where Barry is. So thank you so much for being here. And for those of you who've not met Barry, he's a professional Atlanta-based storyteller and educator, actor and writer. And he has been delighting his audiences and students for a very, very, very long time. And watching Barry work with these participants has been absolutely amazing. He brings with him his expertise and skill and wisdom. And Barry has acted on stages all across the country and told tales to thousands of people in festivals. And we have been really grateful that Barry has been the mentor for this year. So thank you very, very much, Barry. I'm going to hand you over to Barry Stuart-Mann.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Dee. It has been quite a pleasure, and I like to think I bring some expertise to this mentorship, but I have to say I will probably look good because these participants bring so much expertise of their own. They're such established and accomplished storytellers to start with. So it's been wonderful. We have had an interesting journey. We've been working together for, I think, 6 or 7 months now, right? I think we started back in April. And we've really been looking at many different aspects of how to use story in the instruction across the STEAM curriculum. And I'm not going to take long, but a couple of things that we've talked about as we've worked through. One aspect is thinking about, well, how do we start with a STEAM topic and then find a story for it or create a story for it and shape a story for it. So there's been some of that. And then at the other end of the spectrum, if we have a story that we like, how do we take the story and find the STEAM concepts within the story and bring them out so that it can become an instructional story in the correct setting? And so we've been kind of along that spectrum back and forth about, does it start from story? Does it start from STEAM? Does it, how do we kind of balance those? And then in addition, there's been the constant question of what is the target age group for the story, because that, of course, affects so much in our storytelling. So in some ways, I've certainly come to think of there being a triangle that has, it doesn't matter which one's at the top or which one's at each side, but we have the story, the STEAM content, and the target audience. And of course, because we're talking about educational, I think most of these stories are really targeted at younger people, and the storytellers might mention that as they go. And I will say also it's been interesting because many of our tellers have moved, kind of swirled around. Oh, I think I'll do this story. No, how about that one? But that one, I'm not sure about the science, or this one, I feel like I'd need to do more with the story, and so on. So these stories that you'll see are in some ways very much not in so much works in progress, but they are the stopping points, I think, where these storytellers are at this point in the progression of a larger exploration of being storytellers and being educators and being science educators or math educators as well. So on that note, we will jump right in. We have 5 wonderful tellers and 5 wonderful stories, and we're going to start with, I would say, probably the teller among us who most often, and I don't mean to put the spotlight on, but most often said, I'm not sure that I fully understand the science enough for that topic or the math, or, express some apprehension about how to include the STEAM content, and found a way of doing it that is absolutely charming and wonderful. And so I'm going to pass it over. I'm going to be very cautious in saying names, so I'm just going to pass it over. I'm not going to say people's full names, but just here comes our first storyteller, Zip.
Thank you very much, Barry. Hello, everybody. As you can tell, I am in Singapore, but I'm from Vietnam. And today I'm going to tell you all a folk tale from Vietnam. And so this is one of the stories that Vietnamese kids are very, very familiar with. But today there'll be some twist to make it fit in with the STEAM subject. Right, and here it goes. My story, like many other stories, started a great many years ago. And back in the day, there was a king. The king was getting old, so he knew he would have to pass on the throne to his son. But he didn't have just one son, not two sons, not three, but 7 sons. And now he have a big trouble. Who is he gonna pass on the throne to? Well, he thought and he thought and he thought. When his birthday was coming close, he finally had an idea. And as a food lover, he decided to give his sons a challenge. My sons, this birthday, I would like you to give me something special. Any one of you who can offer me a dish I have never eaten before. A special, delicious, meaningful dish. That person will become king. Upon hearing that, all the princes traveled far and wide around the country to find the most expensive ingredients and come up with the most extraordinary recipes for the king. There was one prince who just didn't do anything. That was the youngest prince, whose name was Leo. He didn't do anything, not because he didn't love the king, but because he had no idea what to do. Leo was very different from his brothers. His mother passed away when he was very young. The king never spent much time with him either. If you ask anybody in the royal family about Leo, they would tell you 3 things. 1, he's very quiet. 2, he's very hardworking. He's been working on a farm just like a farmer. And 3, he is obsessed with everything being equal. His favorite thing to do is to divide rice into different sacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 different sacks equally. He had done it so much that he became very good at it. But that skill didn't help him this time. 3 days until the celebration, he still had no idea what to do. But that night, he had a strange dream. A dream about a cake, a rice cake, which tasted really good. And it could be a nice gift for the king. He woke up the next morning and he set off to work immediately. He remembered every detail of the dream, and he knew exactly what he would do. He would make a rice cake in the square shape. Inside the cake, there would be mung bean and pork. He would wrap the cake in banana leaves, and he would boil it for 1 whole day. Well, that was a lot of work. Leo gathered all the ingredients he had, and he had enough for 3 cakes. Now, on the day of the celebration, at this point in the story, I hope you are not hungry. But if you are, I'm sorry, because I'm going to show you the best of Vietnamese food. On the day of his celebration, the king was offered so much food and everything was delicious, extraordinary, like this, or this, or this. Wow, this is such a work of art. I wouldn't dare to eat it. Or this are so ostentatious. I would love this for my birthday. The king was really, really satisfied until he saw this. What is this? It's so plain. I wouldn't like this for my birthday. But the king did. He was very curious because he had never seen anything like that before. He asked Leo, Leo, did you make this? Dear father, I made it with my own hands. This is a rice cake. I made it in the square shape to represent the earth. Inside, there is mung bean to represent the plants on earth, and pork to represent all the animals on earth. I wrapped it with banana leaves, which symbolizes the love and care from parents to the children. And I boiled it for one whole day. The king was so touched. He had no idea Leo put so much thought into it. And now he got even more curious. Leo, I would like to see the cake inside. Slowly and gently, Leo opened the cake, and inside it looked like this. The king wanted to eat it, but it was too big for just one person. Suddenly, he had a brilliant idea. My sons, I would like to eat this cake, but it's too big for one person. There are 8 of us here. How about we share it? Can anybody of you think about a way to cut this cake into 8 equal pieces? The first prince, the oldest one, came forward. Dear father, let me try. I can do this with my own hands. This is so easy. He tried to break the cake with his own hands, but the cake was made from sticky rice. As soon as he touched it, his hands were covered with sticky rice. It was so sticky and messy. He tried and he tried and he tried, and he ended up with a big mess. And the filling was everywhere on the ground. He ruined it completely. Now Leo had to open the second cake. The next prince came forward. Dear father, my brothers, I am very good with my sword. I can easily divide this cake into 8 equal squares. Let me show you. And he started cutting the cake with his sword. But again, it's made from sticky rice. It's a very thick cake. Oh, he tried, but that was so hard to press the sword through the cake. Eventually, he managed to have 1 vertical cut and 1 horizontal cut. But they were far from even. And he had no idea where to go from there. There was just 1 more cake. Now, Leo opened the last cake, and he said, Father, I have a different way of cutting the cake. And then he took out 4 pieces of thin thread. Everybody was really confused. And now he placed the thread on top of the rice cake, just like this. 1 vertical, 1 horizontal, and 2 diagonal. People still looked very confused. Now Leo turned the cake over, and he started to pull together 2 ends of each thread. 1 vertical, 1 horizontal, and 2 diagonal. And this is what he ended up with. A square cake, beautifully and neatly divided into 8 equal triangles. And now, everybody was happy because the cake was equally divided. They started to taste it, and they were all taken away by how it tasted and how good it smelled. The king put his hand on Leo's shoulders and said, My son, you offer me something I have never eaten before. It was such a meaningful gift, and you also have a clever way of cutting the cake without breaking it, without using your hands, without using your sword or knife. Leo will become king. And I believe you'll be a wise king and you will rule wisely. And at this point of the story, I know you know how the story ends. Leo became king. He was a great king and he was loved by all of his subjects. But the more important thing is, from that moment on, Vietnamese people made the square rice cake to celebrate Lunar New Year and to offer their ancestors. And for many, many generations, Vietnamese people all over the world still cut the cake into 8 equal triangles using the same old method. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Deep. And friends out there, we're welcome if you've joined us since we started. I wanted to point out, I think that we are going to keep the chat open in between the tellers. So when each teller finishes, if you want to go ahead and share your love and your comments and your thoughts, I think this was a wonderful example of taking a story that is culturally rich and finding a STEAM concept within it that works so nicely, and the illustrations or the graphics help so well, Zip. That was lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
And
much,
and it's
Barry.
just such a simple mathematical concept about how we partition shapes. And
Yeah.
what I love about this is the counterintuitive quality of taking a square, and that when you cut it into this number of equal shapes, you end up with triangles, with right triangles. So wonderful.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
like I just found that our ancestors were so smart.
Yeah. This is true. This is true. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
We are going to move on to our next teller. And our next teller is I'm delighted to say, well, I'm delighted to say that I had a chance to meet her. She's the only one in our mentorship group that I've actually met in person, that I had a chance to meet her last in 2024 when I had the absolute pleasure of visiting southern India and coming to Chennai. And it's Pratigya Haran. And Pratigya, I will share, is certainly one of the tellers that moved around among several stories, trying to find what felt most comfortable. And on the one hand, it was a little bit not worrisome, but just like, what do I do? What do I do? I know there was some of that going on. And on the other hand, I think you have found yourself a whole array of possible stories that you can continue to work on. But in any case, we're all going to enjoy what she did finally land on. And here is Pratigya.
Thank you, Barry. So I'm going to jump into my story right away. Ravi was super duper excited that day. You know why? Because his best friend Sana was going to come to his home. Not just his home, but inside his house. Now, it's not that Sana had never visited him before. In fact, every Sunday morning, Sana would be there at his house. But they would usually play in the front yard, and that's about it. Once it got a bit too hot or it rained, Sana was forced to go back home. But today was special because today Sana was going to come inside his house to play with him. Now, this quite doesn't sit with all of you, right? I understand. But you will figure it out as the story goes ahead. So, as I told you, he was super excited, and despite it being a Sunday, he woke up early, he brushed his teeth, he had his bath, he had his breakfast. He did everything without Mama even asking him once. And then he thought, Sana's coming home. I will take out my best toys for her to play with. Let me sort them out before she comes home. You see, Diwali had just gone past. So Mummy had packed all the toys in a box and shoved it under the bed. He looked for Mummy, but she was busy and so was Dad. So he thought, I'm strong enough, I'll do it myself. He went to his parents' room, looked under the bed, and 1, 2, 3. 3 boxes. A big one, a medium one, and a small one, of course. He thought, I have so many toys, I'm sure the biggest box is mine. So he put his hand in and he held onto the box and he tried to pull it and he found it extremely heavy, extremely difficult. He had to use all his might. Finally, the box was out. He opened it, but clothes. Ah, these were the clothes that they were planning to give away at the orphanage. Not the right box. But he knew he had to tidy up after his work. So he closed the box and he tried to push it, but it needed a lot of force. He had to keep his hands behind him and use his legs and push it all the way. Finally, the box had gone back where it was. Maybe the medium one it is. And this time when he dragged it, it was slightly easier, but definitely still he had to use quite a lot of force. He opened it and all of his wooden toys, his train set, his puzzles, and he thought today is not the day for wooden puzzles. He closed them and when he pushed them in, it was slightly easier. The third one must be the box. And this time when he pulled it, it came out rather very easily. It was much lighter. He opened the box and there, he played with the ball and when he missed it, the ball rolled away. He took out his Rubik's Cube and he placed it by his side. And then he took out all his cars and vehicles. Some had 4 wheels, some had 8, some had 16. He pushed one car a little and it went right away. Some cars he had to pull backwards and when he released them, zoop, they went really fast. He was still figuring out what toys to keep, what not when he heard the sound. King. The main gate! Looks like Sana's here. I've got the gate, Mama! He called out. He jumped from where he was and he rushed to the main door. And there, yes, Sana and her mum were just moving in. Stop there, Auntie! I will take it from here. He went behind Sana and he started pushing her in her wheelchair. And he said, Auntie, look, we just checked our weight yesterday. Sana and I, both of us are 12 kgs. Yet, I'm able to push her, huh? I'm so strong. Sana's mum told him, you see, Ravi, both of you might be the equal weight. But Sana's wheelchair has these 2 big wheels. When you use wheels to push something, it becomes a lot easier. Oh, is that so, Auntie? Okay. And then as he moved further, he said, Sana, look. My parents have put up this pram for you to go inside the house. Today you can finally come in. And Sana was super excited as well. Oh, that's wonderful. Today I'll finally see your room and about all the things that you've been telling me from inside the house. Come, let's go. But when Ravi tried to push her up the hill, up the ramp, he was finding it very, very difficult. The wheelchair would just not budge rather. And then he called out, Mama, something is wrong with the ramp. I'm trying to push the wheelchair and it's just not going. The ramp is not set well. Sana's mum smiled and she said, Ravi, when you're trying to push something uphill, up the ramp, up an incline, it's a lot more difficult. You need extra help, extra force. See what I have. She bent down and tuck, opened out 2 smaller wheels which were tucked under Sana's leg rest. And Mama said, these will work like boosters. These are like your superheroes. They have superpower. Try and push her now. And this time when he pushed her, he was able to push her up the hill, up the ramp a lot easier. They went inside. Sana looked at Ravi's room and she said, oh, that is the Diwali card I made for you, no? You've put it on her table. Lovely. And here, Mummy has made some feeni for you. Your favorite dish, your favorite dessert. The kids enjoyed that. They played for some time. When Sana suddenly remembered, Ravi, you said you had planted something in your back garden and then it has sprouted. Let's go and see that. Oh, yes, of course, said Ravi. We have also put up a ramp in our backyard. Come, I'll take you. And he pushed her ramp, her wheelchair, by the backyard. And then Ravi remembered, Auntie said when you push something on an incline, you need boosters. So he bent down and tuck, he pushed the boosters out and Sana said, stop, Ravi. You don't need boosters when you go downhill. But Ravi was too excited to listen to her. And so he opened the boosters and zoom, they went completely off the ramp, off the cemented path into the soil where the plants were growing. Oh, what has happened? Ravi asked. And Sana said, what has happened? As usual, you are not listening to me. I was telling you, when you go downhill, down a ramp, down an incline, you need much lesser force. And surely you don't need boosters. But you would just not listen to me as usual. The two friends had a good chat on that. And then Sana looked around. I love the smell of those jasmine flowers. Is that the little sprout you were talking about? Yes, yes, come have a look. They went, they bent, they looked around. They had a good time in the garden. And finally, Sana said, Gudu, 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 gudu. My stomach is rumbling, Ravi. Can we go inside and eat something? Oh, yes, of course, of course. He tried to push the wheelchair. It didn't work. The wheelchair got stuck in the soil. No matter how hard they tried, the two of them, but it just wouldn't work. Finally, they had to call out to their parents, Mommy, we need help! Mummies came, and then Sana's mum picked Sana up, and Ravi's mum picked the wheelchair, cleaned the wheels, and once they were inside, they explained, wheels are a great thing to help you to push and pull. But they work well only on smooth surfaces like the cemented path at the backyard or the tiles inside the house. Once you put them in a rocky or a roughy place like the soil, wheels don't necessarily work well. Ah, okay, said Ravi. The two of them had a lovely time. They enjoyed their meal. Sana said bye and then they went back. And Ravi had a good thought on everything that happened that day. How wheels help when you're pushing or pulling something, especially when you were pushing something up the hill. How pushing something up the hill needs a lot more of force, and wheels help you there. How pushing something downhill needs no force at all or very little force. In fact, you have to be careful when you're pushing things down. And of course, when something is heavy, you need to pull or push it with a lot of force, like those 3 boxes that he had seen under the bed. Lots of learning, and of course, lots of fun, because his best friend had come home that day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Preti. That was just great. And I love all the things you built in, and for our audience, one of the things we talked about is how these stories, in terms of being instructional tools, can build a platform. And you could see in this original story that Preti made up that there are so many points of entry for then discussions about force and energy and simple machines and gravity and things like that. But it has such a wonderful kind of flow to the story. It rolls, and also we love that you built in that aspect of looking at accessibility. That surprise you gave us is wonderful. So thank you so much. Just a reminder that we're having the chat open in between stories, so this is the time. Share your thoughts, any questions for the tellers, any observations, and of course, lots and lots of love. So thank you very much. We're going to go on to our next teller, and our next teller also has been thinking about kind of the larger world of the story. And she's coming to us from Ahmedabad, and she has chosen a topic that is in some ways one of the more complex ones, something that we all, I think, worked a bunch in supporting her to get our brains around how it is clear. And it's a topic from math. And so I'm just going to move on to welcome Tripat.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you for being so kind, and everyone. Dee, I hope I'll be able to share the presentation and you have put that thing on. So the title for my story is Counting Shells Under the Moon. This story, especially for grade 3 and above, a stage when science and maths starts to feel very complex and learning loses some of its spark. When formulas and facts take over fun, stories step in to put back that joy of discovery, reminding them that learning can still be fun, playful, joyful, and full of those aha moments. On that note, do you know what is common between pineapple and your DNA? Well, to find the answer, let's dig into the story. एक एकम एक दो दूनी चार चार चौके 16. Hi, my name is Ganita and I love numbers. I gaze on numbers everywhere. In falling leaves and autumn air, they rise in petals, tides, and stars, in beating hearts and zooming cars. And why do I love numbers so much? Well, it is a little tricky to explain, but I can try. See, I come from a seaside village of Shankarapur, where the life is ruled by the sea. The tides will bring in fish, pearls, shells, and salt. But for many years, the tides have brought back only sorrow with torn, empty nets and broken boats, leading to empty kitchens and broken spirits. The elders in my village spoke about the ancient curse by the sea goddess. The curse shall be lifted. It can be broken only by a child, said our village headman. A child? Yes, they say that during the full moon festival, on a full moon night, when the tides will rise high up on our shores, they will bring along with them shells. And in counting those shells lies the secret of breaking the curse. Many have tried, but nobody has succeeded so far. I too wanted to try, but I feared disappointment. What if I'm not able to count the shells, find the secret, and break the curse? You see, I'm good at numbers, but the problem is I'm only good at numbers. What if I try and I fail? I'll be considered bad at the only thing that I'm good at. One day, our village headman gathered all our students together and he said he made a proclamation. Tonight is the night of full moon. One of you must go to the shore and count the shells. And then he said something wonderful. The child who will break the curse will get to go to the school, to the best school in the city on full scholarship. Namburuza! It was like music to my ears, you know. The lonely, strange task held lots of good things, scholarship. Plus, all I had to do was count and not being called crazy for that. So, my hand shot up and I said, I'll count. And so, here I was sitting on the shore with my stick and my basket, carving numbers in the sand, feeling quite lonely when a tide whispered in and left behind a single shell, a single lonely shell. It was lonely, so I made a house for it. Of course, by carving a square in the sand for it. And then another shell rolled in, one more shell. So I made them neighbors. By the time two more shells rolled in, if they rolled in together, I did not separate them, but made a bigger house by carving a square in the sand for them. Two and one, three. Three shells rolled in. Oh, I felt like the sea was onto something. It was trying to give me a message. But why me? The crazy one. Just shells, came the voices from the cliff. They were watching me. I just put all the voices in my head and the voices from the cliff behind. And I just focus on the sea, the shells, and the tides. 3 and 2, 5. 5 shells rolled in. This time, 5 and 3, 8. 8 shells rolled in. I closed my eyes and did a quick calculation. 5 and 8, 13. This time, the new tides tickled my toes with 13 shells. Was I conversing with the sea? Can't be. Can you see the pattern? Each number is the sum total of previous 2 numbers in the series. 1, 2, 3, 3, 5, 8, 5 and 8, 13. Can you guess the next number of shells that the sea rolled in? 8 and 13, 21 shells rolled in. Each number is the sum total of previous 2 numbers. Can you see that? 21, 13, 34 shells rolled in next time. Can you see the pattern? Can you guess the number of shells that rolled in? 34, 21, 55. These were not just random numbers. They were like order in motion. The tree was trying to unfold something using the shells. What could it be? 34, 55? 89 shells rolled in. Oh my God, for each cluster of shell that rolled in together, I made a bigger house nestled behind the last. It was like a growing mosaic of squares and rectangles in the sand. 89, 55, 144 shells. Tired, sweaty, excited, with shells, lines, and more houses carved in sand. I was just catching on my breath when I did something. I took my stick and then I carved a single sweeping line, joining all the squares together, starting from the smallest to the biggest, connecting each opposite corner. The line flew off my stick into a wave of light, a shiny spiral, a single sweeping curve forming into a spiral. Can you see the sequence? 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144. The spiral gleamed lightly below the moonlight, and suddenly it started to glow brightly, and everything went silent. The sea, the tides, and the whispers from the cliff. I knew in that moment that the curse has been lifted, because the next set of tides brought in pearls. Yes. Do you know what is so special about this sequence? People 2000 years ago in ancient India wrote about this sequence. And today, this sequence is named after a famous Italian mathematician, Fibonacci. And this sequence is called Fibonacci sequence. What is so special about this? Can you recognize this spiral? Have you seen anywhere in nature? But where? You must have seen this. You will find them in the tusks, the talons, the claws, the beaks, the horns, even in human ear. Each one of them can fit the winding, coiling shape of this spiral. These are called the Fibonacci features in the creatures, which are very important for their survival, from finding food to fighting foes. You will even find this spiral, this shape of spiral, equiangular spiral in galaxies and even in hurricanes. Notice the numbers that these special flowers have, with single petal, cosmos, and crown of thorns will only have 2 petals. The spiderwort will only have 3 petals. The quince with 5, and the cosmos with 8. Notice here how the bracts of the pine cone spiral in different direction. In each case, it is a Fibonacci number going one way and the next number in the sequence going the other way. They always move in different direction to opposite direction. 8 and 13. Remember the numbers from the sequence? Same is the case for the sunflower. Each and every disc of the sunflower will have two different spirals and all of them will count up to a number in the Fibonacci sequence. Next time you pick up an apple, count the number of spirals. They will always end up being a number from the Fibonacci sequence. Maybe all the creatures, the flowers and everything will not have this spiral number or these squares. But next time when you see them, observe. You might see the nature's secret code growing all around us. Oh yes, coming back to the question, what do we have common in a pineapple and a DNA? Well, our DNA is measured in angstrom and each turn in the DNA is 21 angstrom in width and 34 angstrom in length. Remember the sequence 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55, 89, 144, 230, 233. These are called the Fibonacci sequence. Thank you.
Wow. We have all been immersed in this wonderful math concept with a great story, just spot on visuals and an amazing explanation. Yeah. This was quite a project for Tripat, and I think I'll add also that you have all other kinds of wraparound plans for it of what you might do with students following up.
I'll just show this that we will be putting in shells and yes, it was hard to fit in everything in those 10 moments, but thank you so much for your direction. That
well, you took it and ran with it.
10 minutes. Thank you.
That was wonderful. And please share with Tripat your thoughts, questions in the chat. I'm looking, yes, amazing work and story. It really came through lovely. So thank you very much. For our fourth storyteller, we are also going to have things to look at because our next storyteller is a terrific storyteller who specializes in a wonderful form of storytelling that many of us are familiar with called kamishibai. And during the course of our meetings, monthly meetings over the past several months, Ramya has also been traveling and she has had wonderful success in Japan, I think sharing her kamishibai practice and expanding her practice at a big conference there. And so she has brought a story, a STEAM story to be told through kamishibai. So here is Ramya.
And mute, and I'll keep a tab on time. Thank you so much, Barry. Thank you, Feast. And let me dive right into my story. Mukashi Mukashi, presenting to you a kamishibai story, Little Drops, Big Adventure. Once upon a time, somewhere far away, somewhere in the clouds, there was a tiny little drop, a droplet of water, and her name was Boond. Boond was super happy, super enthusiastic, and always full of energy, full of life. She was still a very young drop of water. One day, from high up in the sky when Boond was looking down, she saw all those tiny little things and she was super excited and she ran straight to her grandfather. She ran to grandfather Meg and said, Grandpa, can I please go down and see the whole world? Please, can I go? Hmm. Her grandpa, who was extremely wise, with all those big mustaches, said, I don't think you can go. Please, 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 insisted Booth. And then he said, all right, you can go if you're accompanied by your sister, Shabnam. Booth was very happy. Of course, both of us can go. We can have lots and lots of fun. And he ordered Boone's elder sister to accompany. And what did they do? They sat down on a gushing waterfall and whee! Woohoo! Hooray! They came down the waterfall. And as they came down the waterfall, where did they go? Yes, they passed through the beautiful land where there were tall trees and where there were lots and lots of animals in the forest. And this waterfall, which was now meandering like a river, slowly flowed. Oh, this is so beautiful. I'm so excited. This is so awesome, said Booth. Of course, said Shabnam. And as little Booth looked around, she saw that there were trees and there were animals, and she asked her sister, so, everybody thinks we are very important, sister. Why are we so important? To that, the sister said, you see all these trees and plants? They all need water to grow. Really? Yes. She then told about, have you seen this? Oh, a tiny seed. A tiny seed, when it's placed inside the soil, the warmth of the soil and the sunlight, and then plop, 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 little drops of water, slowly the seed sprouts, and it breaks into two, and slowly the plant grows up, and then it grows into a huge tree. Yes, that is why we are very important. And all these trees love water. And all the animals that you see, they also love water. All the humans, everybody loves water. Booth was super excited about this adventure. And as she was looking around and as the river water continued to flow, they came across Hiya, hiya, hiya. They came across some people who were washing their clothes and sending off all the soapy water into the river. What's happening, Didi? Asked Booth. And as they continued to flow, the color of the water seemed to change, and they saw these huge, tall buildings. Somewhere they were all letting out all the dirty water into the river. The watercolor seemed to change, and now Booth could hardly breathe. Sister, I'm finding it very difficult. She coughed. But I want to go back, sister. How do I do that? Said Booth. Are we stuck here? Can I never go back? To that, her very intelligent sister said, No. Don't worry. We have a plan. The water that is down on earth has a way to go back up. Really? How is that? Well, let me tell you, said Booth. The water that is high up in the clouds, comes down with something called as precipitation. And then they go all the way into the ocean. And then when they meet the sun, they go up, and that's called as evaporation. And then they condensed back in the clouds. Really? Is there a way to go back? Yes, said Shabnam, and they jumped on to a boulder nearby. And what happened? There the sun was shining bright and they came back up to the sky, and Grandpa Meg was waiting. He was looking at his little grandchildren come back up. He quickly hugged them and condensed them, and Boone had something to say. Grandpa, it was so beautiful in the world below initially, but you know the people have polluted the place. The water has become so dirty. Please teach them a lesson. Said the wise grandpa. And what do you think he did? He called out to all the people in the world and sent out a message. This is a warning. You need to clean the water. Do you think people even listen? They said, oh, whatever. Nobody seemed to listen. They continued to dirty the water. They continued to pollute it. They continued to throw waste. They were not even bothered. They said, it's gonna rain anyways. It's okay. But Grandpa Meg ordered all the other clouds to stop pouring the water, to stop raining completely. No rains at all. What happens when there is no rain? 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, all right, it's okay. And they continue to drink, continue to waste water. But after a few days, when there was no rain at all, there was drought. Animals started to die. Plants started to wither. And people had no water to drink. They all looked up to the sky. They looked around. What mess they had created. And they realized their mistake. They realized what they had done. They realized how they had ignored the warning of Grandpa Meg. Immediately, all of them gathered together and they went running to Grandpa Meg, begging for mercy, requesting him to be kind on them. And Grandpa Meg, being very kind, what do you think he did? Well, within no time, there was waterfall, there was rain, and the whole land was filled with water, and it was green and beautiful back again. And guess who was the happiest? Little Boone. Little Boone was super duper excited to see that the world below was green and beautiful again, and went and hugged Grandpa Meg and gave him a big thank you. The end. Oshimai. That's the end of my story. Thank you so much.
Wow, that was beautiful, beautiful to look at, lovely to listen to, the storytelling, the sounds, the movements, and the illustrations, of course, the Kamishibai. Thank you so much, Ramya.
Thank you,
And-
Barry.
And of course, as we talk about steam, we know steam
Yeah.
itself is made of water, but we also know that water is such an important concept. It's such an important topic, not just for students, but for us all. Water is behind so much of what goes on in our lives and in the world. So what a great entryway for discussions about water. And you tied in the water cycle. You had the moving drop. That was just great. I know you talked about
Yes.
doing that, and also then of course the important reminder about how we treat our water and polluting, and hopefully we can. This story will help us to be clear on being good stewards of the land and of the water. So thank you again, Ramya.
Thank you, Barry.
Good. And we are now already at our final storyteller in this 5-story session. And our last storyteller is someone who I think among us, I would say, is probably the most deeply versed in the science and the math. I have learned a great deal from Shraddha. I remember during the session when she clarified, because of course STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. I know what science is. I know what math is. I know what the arts are, but I have I've always had especially in dealing with STEAM, kind of a hazy understanding of, well, where does the technology and the engineering come in? And, I think of technology as our computers and our cell phones. And then Shraddha just provided this lovely definition that the technology are the tools that we use to accomplish anything, and that our engineering is the way we apply those tools. Did I get that right? I hope I did. Okay. In any case, I just love that, because that means technology applies at all levels in our scientific endeavors. Yes, our final storyteller is Shraddha. So here we go.
Thank you, Barry, for that lovely introduction, and thank you to all the 4 storytellers that went ahead of me, because I'd like to straight out say that the group has been wonderful and supportive in all storytelling efforts. Speaking of technology, I am having a technical glitch in which my internet bandwidth is not that great, so I may pop in and pop out, but please bear with me. So let's begin. The title of my story is The Family Story. And this story is targeted for the age group of about 6 to 10 years. So I hope that all of us can find the child within us and enjoy the story. Ma! Lila was frantically looking for her mother. Ma! Lila, what happened? Miku hurried towards her daughter Lila, and when their eyes met, Lila completely broke down. Miku drew Lila close. Lila, my dear child, did someone say something? But Miku's gentle voice was met only with heartfelt sobs, and images of her friends being mean to her flashed through Lila's mosaic vision. And she poured her heart out to her mother. How Titli the butterfly had fluttered prettily and said, Lila, go away, you stink. And how Madhu, the honeybee, had visibly recoiled both of her antenna noses. And how little Haria, the green fly, had pretended to gag when she had come close to him. How they had all huddled away from her, snickering and whispering. And then they actually broke into song. And the words of that song really, really stung Lila. She remembered the song. Poopy man, eats poop, as much as he can. Poopy, ew, poopy, poopy man. And with that memory, a fresh wave of tears hit. Rocked Lila, she barely managed to blubber out. My friends, Ma. My friends, they called me Poopy Man. Poopy Man, Ma. And they made up a song about it too. And all because we eat poop. Miku pulled Lila in, closer into a tight hug under her motherly wing. And slowly, those racking sobs, they calmed down. I wish I was not a dung beetle that eats poop. I wish I could sip nectar like Titli butterfly, or suck plant sap like Haria greenfly, or even chomp on pollen like Madhu honeybee. Oh Ma, they don't stink, they smell sweet. Lila looked up into Miku's multiple eyes and confided, Ma, you know the worst part? The worst part is I do so love to eat poop. Just like the rest of our family, I can't just stop eating poop, but I wish there was at least one single thing about dung beetles that I could feel good about, one special thing at least. Miku slowly raised her wing and took a long, loving look at her daughter. And then a knowing smirk flashed, spread across her mandibles. At least one special thing about dung beetles? How about I tell you 3 special things, little missy? Oh, 3 special things? Lila opened all of her tiny eyes wide in wonder. Yes, settle down now, hold your head high, and listen to our family's story. We dung beetles are an ancient tribe. Our families stretch back, way back in time to the time when dinosaurs roamed the earth. Do you know? And as the dinosaurs started eating more and more different kinds of plants and animals, they grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And naturally, they pooped more and more and more. And our ancestors, they learned to hack into all of this nutrition, and they used that rich, yummy poop. And so our families also grew and evolved along with the dinosaurs. And ever since then, Lila, we dung beetles have gotten very good at eating poop. In fact, we are the best. Lila just gaped at her mother, just riveted, Well, we are so extraordinary that we are everywhere, Lila. Do you know that there are more than 9,500 different types of dung beetles on Earth? So you, little missy, have cousins and uncles and aunties, nieces and grandparents and nephews and who knows, a huge extended family spread all over the world. No matter where you go on land, forests, grasslands, deserts, farmlands, mountains, plateaus, valleys, wherever the land stretches, you will find dung beetles. On every single continent, except that really cold place, that I think they call it Antarctica. Yeah, except for there, we are everywhere, Lila. Now, is that not special? Whoa! Tell me more about our global family, Ma. There's plenty more to our family story. We dung beetles have evolved to specialize in not 1, not 2, but 3 different ways, Lila. Some dung beetles, like our family, we are expert rollers. We break off a small piece of dung and make a ball, a sphere, with our saliva, and then roll it far away from the main pile of dung. And then we go inside a tunnel and we save it for our babies. Yes, that's what Dad and you have been teaching me to do while singing our family song. And Lila, she broke into a dance jig with her powerful hind legs as if she was rolling a ball. And she started to sing a current favorite tune. We will roll you. We will roll you. Yes. Miko just burst out into a laugh and said, yes, you are getting quite good at it, my dear. Well, while we roll dung balls away, other dung beetles may be tunnelers or dwellers. Lila, can you guess what they do instead of rolling the dung? Tunnelers, Ma. I know. Do they make tunnels under the dung pile and into the dung pile? And dwellers, dwell, means to stay. Do those dung beetles just stay in the dung pile, Ma? Miku rubbed her wings in delight and said, you got it, Lila. That's right. Such a smart baby girl you are. And now here is the second really special thing about us. Lila, we may be small, but we are strong. Really, really strong. And when we roll those dung balls, we can move more than 1,000 times our own weight. And that's like one human pulling, grabbing, dragging 6 full double-decker buses. Imagine that. So if you keep our size in mind, not only are we the strongest insect in the world, but my dear, we are the strongest animal in the entire world. Ma, does that mean that if elephants and tigers and lions were as tiny as us, we would be stronger than them? That is so special. Laila was almost bouncing with joy on all of her little 6 legs. Oh, Ma, I can't wait to tell my friends. But what is the third? What's the third special thing, Ma? I saved the best for last, Laila. Do you know? The third special thing is the most important thing. Not only are we everywhere, and not only are we the strongest animal, but we are also one of the most necessary animals on earth. Tomorrow, if every single dung beetle was to disappear from earth, the world as you know it would be completely off balance. Huh? How, Ma? Well, think about it. We are nature's waste warriors. Eating poop is our superpower. If we didn't exist, all the dung deposited by every single land animal all over the world, every single day, day after day after day. You know, poop happens, and it happens every single day by every land animal. Well, that entire huge mess would pile higher and higher and higher and higher, and it would just be sitting around for such a long time. And not only would it be smelly, it would be constantly releasing ammonia, because the nitrogen's got to go somewhere, Laila, and that nitrogen would become toxic ammonia gas, and poof, poof, poof. Along with that smelly fragrance, it would be getting into the air all the time. When we eat poop, we are breaking down that dung and putting that nitrogen back inside the soil so that plants can have it. We are putting the nitrogen back into the soil to fertilize it. So we are key to help that nitrogen to enter and to keep the earth's ecosystem alive and healthy. And it's all because we eat poop. Never ever forget this, Laila. It's our superpower, and you should be proud of it and of who you are too. I understand now, Ma, and I am proud to be a dung beetle. Thank you. And Laila hugged Miku. Suddenly, some leaves of a nearby bush rustled and slowly parted, and out trooped Laila's insect friends. Hariya, Madhu, and Titli. They were all looking pretty ashamed of themselves. Titli the butterfly finally spoke up haltingly. Laila, we had come to say sorry for being mean to you, but then we saw your mother and we were scared of her, thinking she would be mad at us, so we hid. Madhu jumped in. But I'm so glad we hid. I'm so glad. We heard your whole family story, Laila. Hariya piped up. Laila, you are awesome! And we will never ever sing the Poopy Man song again. Oh, Laila could not be happier, and she drew all her friends into a big loving group hug. And then Titli suddenly shook herself loose and free and added, but we do have a new song for you. Come on, everyone ready? A 1, a 2, a 3, let's begin. Poopernator, Poopernator, we're really sorry we get it now. Poopernator, Poopernator, you saved the world, just take a bow. Poopernator, Poopernator, you're the strongest of all. And that's wow. Poopernator, Poopernator, a global star you and how. Poopernator! And that, my friends, was the family story of your friendly neighborhood dung beetles. Let's all be thankful for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shraddha. That was just a delight, and Shraddha's been kind of thinking about how to talk about and tell stories of, and had many different possible points of entry to the story of the dung beetle. And so now we all have a new hero in our lives. Thank you very much. That was lovely and so much fun in the songs.
Thank you, Barry, and thank you for all your support and help.
Yeah. Oh, it was a pleasure. And tying it in with something that kids can care about, that idea of being teased by friends and talking to your mom, that's terrific. And we've come to the end of our 5 stories. I want to say that as I was listening, and perhaps as you were listening, those of you out there, I was just thinking of, if only Ravi had had the strength of the dung beetle. It wouldn't have been hard at all to push Sana's wheelchair up. And I'm thinking about the cycle of the dung and the earth, mirroring the cycle of the water. And I'm wondering, does that water cycle somehow involve that Fibonacci sequence? Because I think of cycles, and then thinking about how we started with delicious rice cakes, and someone had said earlier, well, we start with a food story and we end with a food story. Well, from the dung beetle's point of view, we end with a food story, but we start with a food story and end with a story that is at the other end of that digestive tract. So I think at this point, I'd love to ask Dee if we can pull all the storytellers on and just share. And I think hopefully we have a little time. I'd love to open it up, and I might pass it off to Dee and Sheila as well as our directors, but to see if we have any comments or any thoughts or questions. But wonderful work to all of our
I just love the
storytellers.
way you connected them, Barry. I just loved it.
Yeah.
That was so creative.
Yeah.
It's such a delightful session. I really, really appreciated all the story. I learned a lot today, and I have to say, in the showcase, everything came alive, so much more polished. And yeah, I had no idea. I don't think of them as lessons at all. They were all
Yeah.
stories, and we were also so immersed in all the concepts and see how they put in the right context. I'm sure I'm gonna steal all the stories for my lessons, at least for my children.
I was about to say, maybe steal each other's stories, please. With
To
group
everyone. I just have to quickly jump in and say that this whole workshop experience has been amazing for me, because I find it very difficult, the STEAM concepts, and I was always like, I'm so bad at maths, I'm so bad at science, I need calculator for 2 plus 2. But Barry has been so patient, and the way he has guided, and the way it just gave me so many different ideas to look at simple stories which can have all these STEAM concepts into it. So Barry, a big thank you, full of gratitude for your guidance.
Thank you. Well, we all supported each other through this process, and
Yes, that's true.
lots of ups and downs and ins and outs. Good. Well, I wonder, can we go back to, I don't know if I suppose we can each do that, but to open it up in case there are any comments or questions from those in attendance.
I have a question. I really enjoyed how diverse all the stories were, so different. I'm curious, did you guys start with the concept or start with the stories as you were picking up what to do?
Anyone want to talk to your process? Go ahead.
Niharika, you know what? I have been looking forward to you starting with STEAM stories since so long, and I think I have picked Barry's brain so much on this. How much of it should be the story? How much of it should be, and I took things heads on by picking, I think, a most difficult topic, Fibonacci, and to fit it into a single session for children to be on board with, loving the numbers back for grade 3, grade 4. So, to summarize, Barry was very helpful with his guidance because he said that this team should be incidental to the story. He said, look at the underlying central tension and work towards it. So, his words have been very helpful in shaping up our stories, finding the concept, and then, building stories around it.
I will add that I think for me, as I work with this, that's one of the tensions, is to make sure that our story is a strong story. And there can be a tendency, if we have a lot of science or math concepts, to kind of lay in a lot of information, and then the story gets lost along the way. And it really just feels like a thinly veiled lecture, and we don't want that to happen. Thank you for that question, Niharika. Anyone else want to jump in on that?
I would like to add on to that, Niharika. For me, it was like when I came into the STEAM mentorship, my thought process was I should be able to find STEAM concepts in almost every other story that we say. I was not looking to create a new story. I was trying to, recognize those small little concepts everywhere, literally everywhere. And that's the excitement I came with to STEAM. And believe me, until the last month, I did not have a story because I just couldn't find the STEAM concepts in the stories. And then I realized maybe because I need to have a strong base of STEAM myself, and I don't, at least not with maths and science. So if I don't have a strong understanding of the concept, it's difficult to find that in any story. And so I went the other way around now. So I picked a concept which was easy for me to handle and then weaved a story around it. And of course, Barry has been absolutely helpful around that. He's been, nudging me the right way. And he's always asked me every time. I mean, I've probably shared this story with him twice or thrice. And he's like, how do you feel about it? And I'm like, I feel good. He said, that's all that matters. And like, I feel good because I finally arrived. I was struggling. In fact, I was going to almost prepare a speech on how the workshop was good, but I didn't get around telling a story. But I managed to tell a story. I managed to create one. So, yep, there we are. So I think each one of us is different on that.
And before we go to Shraddha, I just want to say that I think that reminds me and us that as storytellers, I think we have to enjoy the story. You have to love the stories you tell. And I hear other people tell stories, and I say that's a wonderful story, but I would never tell that because that's not a story for me. And so the same has to go with, we have to find the science or the math concepts that we love and the stories that we love to carry them. Shraddha, go ahead.
Yeah, I just very quickly. So interestingly, Niharika, the seed of this story planted almost 2 years ago when I read a newspaper article about dinosaur poop, fossils, fossilized. If you remember, guys, that's what I talked about first. This fossilized dinosaur poop and how they found remnants of rice or what was the original form of rice in that fossil. So they had a big discussion about where did rice originate. And that's what I wanted to actually do a story about was, did it originate in India or China or elsewhere based on the fossil evidence? And I just couldn't wrap my head around to bring it to a story, but I didn't want to leave the poop. So and I got interested in learning about fresh poop and not fossils, and then dung beetles and their lifestyle. And I have to also credit Katie Bagley, who is an author, who wrote a story in a recent anthology of which I'm also part of. And her story was Poop Makes the World Go Around. And when I read that story, it talked a little bit about dung beetles. And that's how I kind of shifted gears and kind of, got more interested in researching more about dung beetles. And then the story took off. Just about a few days ago, though.
I think I speak for everyone. I speak for everyone in saying we are so glad you did not abandon the poop and that you brought the poop to us this evening. Yes.
Your processes are just as diverse as your stories. Like all of you had different lines of finding that.
Now, in my case, I wanted to explore Kamishibai with this concept, and I think I started off with that restriction. I don't know if I would like to say that, but I wanted to explore that. So until last minute, I was finding it very difficult. I wanted to work with The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, the William Kamkamba story, and it was not ready. And it was very frustrating for me not to see where I wanted to see the story. So yeah, it's been a process, and I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for everyone for being patient and kind with your time. And Barry, on behalf of Feast, I really want to say thank you for sharing your wisdom. You have been an amazing mentor to work with. And I speak for everyone in this mentorship where you have been very kind with your wisdom and guiding, the participants along. And I've watched that growth and been really amazed with your wisdom. So thank you very much for that, for it. And you know what, feel free to put in your comments and your gems, your comments to the storytellers, email it to Feast, send it to them. I am sure that they're really grateful that you're here to listen to them. And on that note, thank you very much. And from wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful day. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.